Hey everyone, so I started this broadcast, which is my cue to kind of start the meeting overall. Welcome to the Dharmabumtemple. This is the Zen meeting for tonight. There's also a recovery Dharma meeting downstairs. Happens at the same time every week, so 7 o'clock on Mondays. They also have another recovery Dharma meeting on Fridays at 7 p.m. from 7 to 8:30. And yeah, I guess, is this anyone's first time here tonight? Yeah, okay, got two people, two first timers, awesome. Welcome. So this Zen meeting kind of can be a lot of sitting and meditating. And the kind of thing that I focus on within this meeting is just zazen, which is also known as just sitting meditation. So it's unguided meditation, and I forgot to grab this bell there, but basically, as far as kind of guidance for the meditation itself, I'll ring the bell 3 times to kind of start our meditations, and we'll meditate for about 15 minutes at first, and then I'll kind of ring the bell again to kind of knock us out of that. And then before we do that first meditation, I'm going to read a little Pema Chodron. I've really been getting into Pema, and she has a lot of really just kind of pertinent things to say, I think, for this practice of meditation and Buddhism in general. And the thing I just read recently from this, kind of 108 teachings on cultivating fearlessness and compassion, it had a lot to say about meditating, so I thought it'd be good for this group. And and then during the kind of so after the first meditation, I'll try and create some space to maybe answer any questions y'all might have. Hopefully we can also share a little bit of our experiences of the first meditation. And then we can, if there's not a whole lot of questions or kind of sharing after that, we can do a final kind of meditation for about 10 minutes before closing out. And so as far as techniques go, I think the main kind of thing to focus on for kind of whenever you're meditating is to focus on your posture. So and I'll read a little bit from Zen Mind, Beginner Mind about posture a little bit later. But you want to kind of have a kind of upright, straight posture, not really straining your body, like arching your back or anything, just sort of relaxed and attentive. And this is probably kind of one of the most important aspects of meditating, I believe. And if you're on the mats, the cushions and everything, you want to try and maybe put your knees on the ground and create like a kind of stable position, be comfortable. And then if you're in the chairs or the pews, just have your feet kind of flat on the ground. And you can do whatever you want with your hands. Maybe put them on your lap, face or your laps, kind of palms down, and eyes can be open or closed. If they are open, I think half open is really what you want. If you want to start closed and then open them later on, you can do that as well. And that's kind of what I do when I'm doing my own personal practice as well. And the last thing I'll say about kind of techniques of meditation is the unguided meditation is just for the breath. I really like to focus on kind of doing rounds of 3 breaths in and out. So if you kind of find that there's a sound or something that is disturbing, or maybe a thought that comes through your mind and that is a little bit difficult to deal with, just do 3 in and outs, 3 in breaths, 3 out breaths. And if you can focus on slowing the breath down at all, I think that's ideal, but it doesn't have to be slow breaths. It can be quick breaths. And kind of leave it there. Do that. So this Pema Chodron thing. So sitting meditation, she has a whole page on it, so I thought that was pretty cool. Here we go. So meditation practice is a formal way in which you can get used to lightening up. I encourage you to follow the instructions precisely, but within the form to be gentle. Let the whole thing be soft. Breathing out, touch your breath as it goes. Sense the breath going out into big space and dissolving. You're not trying to clutch or catch that breath. You're simply relaxing outward with it. There's no particular instruction about what to do during the in-breath. There's nothing to hold on to until the next out-breath. Labeling our thoughts during meditation practice is a powerful support that reconnects us with the fresh, open, unbiased dimension of our mind. When we become aware that we are thinking, we say to ourselves, thinking, with an unbiased attitude and with tremendous gentleness. Then we return our focus to the breath. We regard the thoughts as bubbles and the labeling like touching them with a feather. There's just this light touch, thinking, and they dissolve back into space. Even if you still feel anxious and tense when the thoughts go, simply allow that feeling to be there with space around it. Just let it be. When thoughts come up again, see them for what they are. It's no big deal. You can loosen up and lighten up. Right. Welcome back, everybody. We adopted some new folks as well. So that was really good for everybody. Definitely always really helpful for me coming into the space and everything, and kind of being up here meditating lowers the intensity somehow. My feet still fall asleep every time I'm up here. So I'm moving around. Y'all can move around if you want to, just to kind of loosen up if you're feeling tight or anything. And yeah, I actually kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that Pema Chodron thing because, or the passage that I read earlier, because she kind of lightly touched on this concept of labeling our thoughts and emotions, I think. And it's a very kind of powerful, I think, technique for dealing with any sort of super intense emotions. But I think in order to kind of gain the benefits from it, you have to do it maybe a little bit regularly. And every time I catch wind of this practice, I always try and take it seriously. And it's really kind of powerful. I drive a lot, as everyone I'm sure does, and sometimes you just get angry at other drivers. And I had this experience once of kind of practicing labeling and then experiencing this anger and everything that was just arising, and somehow labeling it was really helpful in just creating a little bit of space between me and the emotion, so that I could maybe react a little bit more wisely in the process. But yeah, it's really simple, I think. You just sort of, as you're experiencing things, during a meditation maybe, or during, maybe a set exercise or something, as things come up, as you're feeling things, you just label them however you think they are. Like if you feel disrupted, you just might say like, that's a disruption. Or if you're feeling like you're in a flow, you might say like, this is a flow state. And yeah, try it out. Yeah, Pema Chodron, comfortable with uncertainty, really great stuff so far. And yeah, I feel like a lot of people at Dharmabumtemple really resonate with Pema. And yeah, I'm excited to learn more about what she has to offer in her teachings.
Joseph Goldstein is a big fan of doing that technique as well too. He
Awesome.
talks a lot about it.
Nice, yeah, it's cool. So yeah, I think I want to do one more reading and then maybe open things up for discussion. And yeah, I noticed these two passages that I thought kind of linked really well from Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Shunryu Suzuki Roshi. He founded the San Francisco Zen Center, which is a Soto Zen school of Buddhism in San Francisco. And it's Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind is really cool. And it's basically kind of this proposition that you can cultivate a beginner's mind through meditation practices and everything. And having a beginner's mind is really advantageous sometimes because it's an open mind, versus kind of like an expert's mind is a little bit more narrow because they know all the answers. And so they're a little bit less open. And having a beginner's mind, I think, is really powerful, I think, in a lot of situations in life. And yeah, I'll leave it there. But yeah, so on posture, so Shunryu says, these posture forms, are not the means of obtaining the right state of mind. To take the posture is itself to have the right state of mind. There's no need to obtain some special state of mind. And in the zazen posture, your mind and body have great power to accept things as they are, whether agreeable or disagreeable. Really simple one-liners all throughout this book. And I've read it twice, and I go through it pretty regularly just to kind of try and find some nuggets of wisdom in there. And it's always really nice because I think Buddhism has this really cool way of being a little bit portable and there's a lot of great knowledge and wisdom in like one-liner statements like no mud, no lotus. And you can kind of compress all of Buddhism down into that somehow sometimes. And his proposition on posture is that, once you're in the posture for meditation, it's really whatever happens next is kind of like splitting hairs, I think. Like, you might be thinking some crazy thought process, or not focusing on the breath, or you may be focusing on the breath. And it really doesn't matter. Like being in the meditation posture, being in a space for meditation is 99% of the process, I think. And doing it regularly kind of cultivates a meditation practice. So yeah, I think I'll open it up for maybe a short discussion, and I'm really kind of curious about any sort of maybe experiences that folks might want to share, especially the newcomers here, about their meditation experience, whether it was difficult or easy or anything. And if you have any kind of general questions about meditation techniques or anything, or Buddhism in general, I can try and answer those questions. Yeah.
Because you were just talking as far as with posture.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. So as far as, I see that you're not crossing the legs. There's one place right in front of it that allows the knees to drop down.
Yeah, I think this is like crisscross.
Yeah.
And that's so I think that posture is interesting because I grew up doing that, and I think when I first started meditating, I first was doing that, and it's super comfortable. But there's so much instruction about meditation postures in Zen literature that kind of indicate it's kind of the opposite of that, where
the knees try to touch down, right?
Yeah, you want your knees on the ground, and the full lotus posture is really difficult. So basically, you put your foot on the top of the thigh, and then you put your other one on the top, and that's extremely painful for me. And I've only seen one person do it here, and they were like, I think they were a yogi. Like all they do is yogi stuff. So
I got big legs from riding bicycles.
Yeah, and I think in Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, Shinryo talks about it a lot, and basically you're kind of trapped a little bit. Like it's really hard to move, and you become more centered, more just kind of focused on being one. And there's a duality concept, I think, within that posture. But as well, I mean, this feels very stable, and I can you can kind of focus on, being super upright, and that's the idea there, I think. Yeah. And so that's why it's still possible to meditate while you're sitting down, because you can kind of create a three-pointed stance where your feet are kind of 2 points, and then you're sitting, so that's a third, and then you kind of just want to have your spine straight from there.
Right. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the distinction between Zen Buddhism and Buddhism in general?
Yeah. So thanks, Ty, right? Yeah. I heard recently somebody say that Zen is Taoism, which is, in my understanding, just a completely different religion. But I don't think that's necessarily true. I think Zen is Buddhism, and it's just Japanese Buddhism. Like, Buddhism is a really magical way of kind of adopting the culture that it finds itself in, and over time, I think the kind of customs and traditions of that culture kind of combine with the school of thought and everything. And there's something else I was going to say. What was it? Oh my god! So I think Zen. So Zen is very much Buddhism. I mean, there's a huge focus on the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Paths, and there's the Bodhisattva vow, and I believe it's a form of, or it's a branch of Mahayana Buddhism, and so there's a lot of stuff about Vipassana and everything, and Heart Sutra study and everything. So a lot of the core stuff is in there, and there's just a heavy emphasis, I think, within Soto Zen to really focus on sitting meditation. And from what I've gathered so far, that's just the beginning. So, like, I think in Zen monasteries and everything, Soto Zen monasteries, this is just the beginning of their day, and like they'll do several other meditation practices throughout the day, and lots of chanting and all sorts of things. But yeah, there's an emphasis about all the other Buddhist stuff in there too.
So they follow the philosophy of Buddhism in general, and they put a lot of emphasis on the meditation, more than just a standard Buddhism. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's a standard Buddhism, but I think for Soto Zen, yeah, there's an emphasis on like this sitting meditation and everything. And yeah, I haven't really done a whole lot of study into meditation and other forms of Buddhism, like Theravada Buddhism and Vajrayana Buddhism, but I'm sure there's similar forms of it out there. And so like Zen is the precursor to Zen is actually Chan Buddhism from China, and the founder of Soto Zen, who's Eihei Dogen, he came from a Rinzai school of Zen in Japan and traveled into China for like 4 years. And he found that people were kind of there was like some ancient wisdom about, kind of cultivating this sitting practice and emphasizing it. And he brought that back to Japan and was kind of just basically saying, like, I found the original Buddhism, y'all should be doing this. And he kind of convinced a whole, lineage of people to practice this Soto Zen, kind of method. And in my opinion, I think there's a lot of inherent wisdom in the practice that you just sort of feel. But there's tons of texts that you can kind of fall back on to, find your way back to the Buddhist concepts and everything. And yeah, for those that are wondering if you're being a good Buddhist or not, just be compassionate and take action. That's I think the trick to, or the short version of Buddhism is just live with compassion and take action.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey there. So I'm new to Zen. This is my first experience seeing him for either your lecture or someone else's. I was curious though, because one of the things you mentioned was that taking a posture specifically was then being used as kind of a gateway into the correct mindset, and is being then in taking that posture, you're then ensuring that you are in that mindset. What is the mechanistic understanding of that in terms of like the Zen theory? Is it like an idea of like you're cultivating chi? Is it that you're something else, how the posture correlates to the mind, or what exactly is going on there?
Yeah, I like to say it's magic. So I think that, if you think about it, so if you're like laying down, your spine is like kind of relaxed and everything, and you don't really have to work very hard to kind of keep yourself upright. Like I think in the beginning of kind of meditation practice, you really have to like focus, and you're alert, and you're very aware. And in that awareness, you're kind of present, and there's not much to think about, to save yourself from in this posture, and defend yourself from. So you kind of just sort of wander. And this is my experience of meditation. So there's this kind of just like this mind that's like racing through everything, and then in that process, maybe slowing down a little bit. And I think what's happening is that you're kind of creating space for other things other than your just racing mind all of a sudden. And it takes time, unfortunately. And you can't, and in my experience, you can't just kind of meditate for a really long time, like a day, and then all of a sudden like morph. I think you have to cultivate a practice of, meditating regularly in order to kind of continue to create that space. But somebody, I think it was some TV show, kind of likened meditation to kind of like cleaning up your house for guests. So in the sense that you're kind of, like I said before, you're kind of making a little bit of space. You're rearranging things so that they're a little bit more in order, so that you can kind of allow somebody else's perspective in, and share that with them. And yeah, does that help at all?
Gotcha. So the posture which you're taking is kind of being used as a vocal sync.
Yeah, I mean, I think from what I was just kind of reading from Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, I mean, I feel like there was somebody in here last week who kind of had a question about, doing it the right way. And I think if you're in the posture and if you're in the space for meditation, you're 99% of the way there. And like I said before, it's like you're splitting hairs about, whether or not you're thinking the right thought or doing it the right way. And it's just time to, kind of relax into that and really just, kind of treat it gently from there. It's no reason to stress. Yeah, thanks for your questions.
I was just gonna say, I really, I've paid attention to the inhale and the exhale and just the sensations of the lungs, but I've never, like what you sort of Pino said, really concentrating on that exhale and then just releasing that, kind of releasing that. And I noticed I was definitely getting deeper exhales just through that mindfulness on that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think to kind of go with your question from earlier as well, this is really just a practice of presence, and we're being kind of we're dedicated to being present here, and this is a wholesome activity, and I think it's very it's so extreme in the sense of practicing presence that you get a sense of what it's like to be present. And it gives you a good reference point to take into the rest of the day. And with the breath work, like Kirk was saying, kind of focusing on even just the minute details of it, like the cool air coming into your breath and everything, and then maybe even the cool air on the exhale and everything. So there's so many different elements that you can kind of focus on as you're breathing. And I've been emphasizing the speed of the breath for just because that's kind of resonating with me personally in my own personal practice. So but sometimes I'm thinking crazy thoughts and need to breathe fast, and and then maybe a few breaths later I can kind of focus on the speed of the breath. So I think we can dive in again to another kind of meditation. If anybody has any kind of last questions before we go in? Does anybody have any?
Yeah, so I joined shortly after we started the first meditation.
Yeah.
With regards to focusing on breath work or other stuff, did you also then, in addition to holding the posture or other stuff, are you then also trying to specifically tune into your breath or tune into, I guess, other sensations or other stuff? Or? Yeah,
so I think the breath is a really great anchor for me personally, and so it kind of I advise people to use it as an anchor. And I think earlier I also mentioned just doing kind of 3 in and out breaths. So 3 kind of in, 3 or in, out, in, out. So just as maybe kind of something to initiate the beginning of it. And then if something disrupts your flow, like maybe a sound like the siren, or I think earlier heard Liam crying, that little baby. So I asked them to make sure the baby was crying during this meditation. It's a good way to disrupt the flow. And yeah, I mean, if that disrupts you, just maybe take three breaths and everything. And yeah, also maybe even couple that with a sense of curiosity as well. I think that can be really compassionate sometimes. So yeah.
Thank you.
Right. So I think we'll do this for like 9-10 minutes, and then yeah, Vicky will close us out afterwards. Okay, so I think before we do the dedication of merit, does anybody have maybe like a closing comment about that last meditation? That was good. Yeah, I usually only meditate daily by myself for like maybe 20 minutes. So this is actually kind of like a lot. And it's like breaking it up into phases it's interesting for me. So I'm actually always really excited to do this practice, this class, attend this class and lead it. So yeah, thank you all for joining. Thanks for sharing the space. And yeah, if you're comfortable, bring your palms to heart center. And so many merit gained from this practice be transferred and of benefit to the world. And if we could carve a little bit of that out for our temple friend Mark, that would be really helpful. And Vicky, if you want to kind of close us out.
Yeah, thank you for that blessing. I'm tonight's host, Vicki, and we opened up the Dharmabumtemple 18 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who leave are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway above the shoe rack. We have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it and bring it back after you are finished. Please straighten your seat or cushion before you head out. If a few people could stay and help close and latch the windows, that would be awesome. And thanks for being here, and thanks again, Cory.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everyone.
Yep. Thanks, Mark.